The torchlight catches her face for only a moment, but Sennefer sees everything he needs to see. She is perhaps 24 years old. Her skin is darker than Egyptian women, marked with the distinctive scarification patterns of Nubian nobility. Her wrists are bound with papyrus rope that has already rubbed the skin raw. Her clothing, what remains of it, suggests she was wealthy before yesterday, before the battle, before the soldiers came. She is one of 43 women being led through the underground passage beneath the Temple of Amun at Karnak. Sennefer counts them as they pass because counting is his job. He is 23 years old, a temple scribe assigned to document the sacred purification rituals that follow military victories. He has held this position for 11 months. In that time, he has documented the processing of over 300 women. He has learned not to look at their faces. The passage descends at a steep angle, carved into bedrock that predates the temple above by at least 8 centuries. The walls are covered with hieroglyphics that most Egyptians never see, texts that describe rituals not mentioned in the public temple records, procedures that the high priests guard as carefully as they guard the gold in the treasury vaults. Sennefer can read these texts. He wishes he could not. The air grows thicker as they descend. The smell of incense mixes with something older, something that Sennefer's mind refuses to identify directly. It is the smell of the purification chambers. It is the smell of what happens to women who belong to defeated enemies. It is a smell that has saturated these stones for generations that no amount of natron or myrrh can fully mask. The woman with the Nubian scarification stumbles on the uneven steps. A temple guard catches her roughly, pushes her forward. She does not cry out. None of them cry out anymore. They learned, during the 3-day journey from the battlefield, that crying out makes things worse. Sennefer's stylus moves across the papyrus automatically, recording details he will later wish he could forget. 43 women, 14 identified as wives of officers, 29 identified as wives of common soldiers, ages ranging from 18 to approximately 40. Physical condition generally adequate for ritual purposes. 3 require medical attention before purification can begin. 1 is pregnant and will be processed according to Protocol 7, which Sennefer has never seen applied, but which the senior scribes discuss in whispers. The procession reaches the first chamber, a circular room, perhaps 30 cubits across. The ceiling is lost in darkness above the reach of the torches. The walls are lined with niches, and in each niche stands a statue of a god or goddess associated with fertility, with conquest, with the divine right of Egypt to claim the bodies of its enemies as surely as it claims their lands. The woman with the Nubian scarification is separated from the others. She is pulled toward a side passage that Sennefer knows leads to the chambers reserved for high-value captives, wives of generals, wives of kings, women whose purification carries special significance, whose rituals last not hours but days. She looks back once as they drag her away. Her eyes meet Sennefer's across the flickering torchlight. In that moment, he sees that she understands exactly what is about to happen to her. She has heard the stories. Everyone has heard the stories. The difference is that now she is inside one. Sennefer looks down at his papyrus. He records that 1 high-value captive has been transferred to the special purification chambers. He does not record her name because he was not given her name, because to the temple records she is not a person with a name. She is Category 3, Subsection B, Officer's Wife, Nubian origin. She is an entry in a ledger. She is a line in a report that will be filed in the temple archives and never shown to anyone outside the priesthood. She is about to spend 7 days in those chambers. Sennefer knows what happens during those 7 days. He has read the protocols. He has documented the outcomes. He has seen women enter the special chambers, and he has seen what emerges when the purification is complete. But he has never witnessed the rituals themselves. The rituals are conducted by priests of the third rank and above. Scribes are not permitted inside during active purification. Scribes are permitted only to count the women going in and count the women coming out, and record the official determinations regarding their spiritual status. What happens between entry and exit is documented in texts that Sennefer is not authorized to read, texts kept in sealed rooms, texts that describe in clinical priestly language exactly how the wives of Egypt's enemies are transformed from contaminated foreigners into purified vessels suitable for temple service. The remaining 42 women are being sorted now, divided into groups based on age and physical characteristics, and the status of their captured husbands. Some husbands are already dead. Their widows will be processed quickly, assigned to general temple service after 3 days of standard purification. But other husbands are still alive, held in cells beneath the military fortress at Thebes, kept breathing for reasons that Sennefer understands but cannot bring himself to articulate directly. Some of the husbands will be brought to Karnak. Some of the husbands will be placed in chambers adjacent to the purification rooms. Some of the husbands will be able to hear what happens to their wives through walls that are deliberately thin. This is not accidental. This is protocol. Sennefer's stylus pauses. The high priest is approaching, his white linen robes immaculate despite the dusty passage, his shaved head gleaming with sacred oils. He is Amenhotep, third prophet of Amun, supervisor of purification rituals, keeper of the texts that Sennefer is forbidden to read. He is 53 years old and has held his position for 22 years. In that time, he has personally overseen the purification of an estimated 4,000 women. He stops beside Sennefer and examines the papyrus with the detached interest of a craftsman reviewing an apprentice's work. The Nubian, he says, the wife of General Pi, transferred to special chambers, third prophet, Sennefer confirms. Her husband survived the battle. He's being transported now. He should arrive by the 3rd day of her purification. Amenhotep says this casually, as though discussing the delivery of grain supplies. Sennefer nods and makes a notation. He does not ask why a captured general is being brought to a temple rather than executed or ransomed. He does not ask what purpose is served by timing the husband's arrival to coincide with the midpoint of his wife's 7-day ritual. He knows the answer. Everyone who works in these passages knows the answer. He just cannot make himself say it out loud. What you are about to learn has been systematically erased from Egyptian historical records for over 3,000 years. The monuments that tourists photograph, the hieroglyphics that scholars translate, the museums that display mummies and gold artifacts, none of them mention what happened in the underground chambers beneath Egypt's greatest temples. None of them describe the fate of women captured in Egypt's constant wars against Nubia, Libya, Syria, and the Sea Peoples. None of them explain why temple revenues increased dramatically after military victories, or why certain priests accumulated wealth that rivaled the pharaohs themselves. Tonight, I will show you the evidence that survived despite systematic destruction, the texts that were hidden rather than burned, the archaeological discoveries that Egyptologists have struggled to explain through conventional interpretations, the patterns that emerge when you compare Egyptian practices to documented rituals in Mesopotamia, where similar systems operated with less effective erasure. You will learn about the sacred purification rituals that transformed captured wives into temple property, how religious authority was used to justify systematic violation on an industrial scale, how husbands were kept alive specifically to witness their wives' purification as a form of psychological warfare designed to break the will of conquered peoples permanently. You will learn about the children born from these rituals, thousands of them across centuries of Egyptian dominance, and how they were absorbed into the temple system as permanent servants. How an economic infrastructure developed around these practices, with captured women generating revenue through fertility blessings that wealthy Egyptians paid substantial sums to receive. You will learn why this history was erased, who benefited from the erasure, what evidence survived despite the destruction, and why scholars have been reluctant to discuss what the evidence clearly indicates. If you want to understand the real history that empires built monuments to hide, subscribe now and comment below telling me where in the world you are watching from, because these people existed. Their suffering was real, and for 3,000 years their stories have been deliberately silenced. The woman with the Nubian scarification is named Takara. She is 24 years old. She is the wife of General P.A., commander of the Nubian forces defeated at the Battle of Gebel Barkal. In approximately 4 hours, her 7-day purification will begin. Let me tell you what happens during those 7 days. The theology that justified these practices was elaborate, sophisticated, and entirely self-serving. Egyptian religious texts dating back to the Old Kingdom established a fundamental principle. Enemies of Egypt were enemies of the gods. Their bodies were contaminated by foreign spirits. Their souls were aligned with chaos rather than Ma'at, the divine order that Egypt represented. When Egypt conquered foreign peoples, it was not merely expanding territory. It was extending divine order into regions corrupted by chaos. It was performing a sacred duty. This theological framework had profound implications for the treatment of captured populations. Men captured in battle were categorized based on their potential utility. Common soldiers might be enslaved, worked to death in quarries or construction projects, their labor extracting value from their contaminated bodies until those bodies failed. Officers and nobles might be executed